Washington may have been something of a madhouse in the past, but since Mr. Marshall called upon the country's common man to help him win the war, it has become an absolute paradise of paranoics.
Is that good or bad?
Well, it isn't good.
Jane, how about slipping my pals in?
I'm sorry, but they'll have to wait their turn just like all the others, especially if they're your pals. Yes?
Yes, sir. Please come in.
Yes.
She's not always this friendly to me.
So that's the young lady that's supposed to be in love with you, huh?
That's right.
She acts more like you're done married.
Look here, now you turn your pocket by putting it in the left pocket or your coat pocket.
Mr. Marshall thinks your ideas are all splendid, but he would like to have time to think them over carefully. We'll call you.
Don't forget.
Are there many more out there?
Well, a few. Quite a few.
Have you read young Beevan's column today?
Blevins.
An absolute paradise of paranoics.
Oh, I wouldn't pay any attention to that drivel.
Marshall's common man planned boomerangs. Little man's champion creates Frankenstein. They're all after me. Miss Nestor, what do you think, honestly?
Well, if I were you, I would try to...
maybe I am handling it all wrong. Maybe... Oh, I don't know.
Perhaps if you were to...
But I'm not Lickchet. I still put my faith in the common man. That's why I had Bergstein make that symbolic statue of him. He'll come through with our greatest discovery yet.
Shall I send in some more inventors?
No, send me in something for my headache.
Well, there's a man out there who makes headache pills.
Please. I want to be alone.
Mr. Marshall's office. Who's calling? The Invisible Man? Sorry, Mr. Marshall can't see him.
Will you please get off my desk and leave Mr. Marshall alone?
Don't you think you're carrying this business of being loyal to your employer a little too far, honey? Why don't you forget him and have dinner with me tonight?
I'm not having dinner tonight.
If you don't eat, you'll get skipped.
And you won't love me.
A hard woman. I don't know what I see in you. You know what you're forcing me to do?
No.
Dine with a congressman from the Midwest. The talk will be all about corn.
Oh, we should find plenty of material for your column.
Uh-oh. I'll see you at 7.
When are we going to get in to see him?
Like Christmas, if a present mood holds. Well, don't worry about it, fellas. I'll arrange it somehow. Well, I got to get back to the office. In the meantime, you might do a little exploring.
Exploring?
Yeah, that's right. You might drop in on the Senate and watch them make a few new laws.
New laws? I don't have we used up all the old ones?
Oh, for pity's sake. You know, Abner, I could stand here and look at it all day long.
Yes, sir. I believe that's the biggest building I've ever seen.
Well, I ain't talking about the size of it. I mean what it stands for.
Oh.
There's the capital of the greatest nation on this earth.
Yeah.
The feller can't look at it long without thinking about the hardships and the sacrifices our forefathers made to make all this possible.
No.
Such statesmen as Washington and Hamilton, Jefferson.
So that's a Lincoln Memorial, huh?
Yeah, one of the greatest statesmen of them all. His ideals are the very principles this country was founded on. The principles we're fighting so hard to preserve right now. That this nation, under God, shall have a new birth of freedom, and that government of the people, by the people, and for the people, shall not perish from this earth. There's another inspiring sight, Abner. Washington's monument.
Is that a statue of Washington?
It ain't a statue of him, it's a monument to him.
Oh, well, I was going to say that. Never looked at that.
Oh, now I know what you're going to say, and it's silly.
Oh.
Seeing the Senate actually at work like we did today is something else every citizen ought to do. Some right interesting stuff said there.
Yeah, Lom, just what did they say? I never could keep up with what they's talking about.
Couldn't you follow that?
No, I jumped the track there summer.
Well, they's appointing a big investigating committee to investigate the investigating committee that the House of Inquiry appointed yesterday.
Ah.
Wait a minute, there's a bench. Let's sit down a while, Abner. I'm just wore to a frazzle.
Well.
Wore to a frazzle.
I would be derelict in my duty to the citizens of my state if I didn't do something about the situation. But I'm helpless. Helpless.
You say the soil is completely arid?
What wasn't blown away in 38 is now parched by last year's drought. Gone so far that even crop rotation doesn't help. Still, my bill for reclamation gets nowhere. I'm at my wit's end.
I sympathize with you, Senator. I know exactly how you feel.
They tell me that if I could find a cheap way of having it done...
Worms will do it cheap, Senator.
Were you talking to me, sir?
Yeah, see, if you had worms.
If I had worms...
Well, he don't mean you personal. He means in the soil. See, they make the ground good for growing stuff.
Earthworms do that?
Why, sure. Yeah, you've got a special kind of worm you can get. You can either buy the worm itself or the eggs. We had a drought down there in Pine Ridge a few years back, and, well, worms practical saved our lives, what they done. Dead right, Abner.
Yeah, well, our father's still raising it.
Yeah?
Why, this is very interesting. But worms injure the delicate roots, don't they?
No, not these don't. See, they're little red worms about that long.
Yeah, and besides making the ground good for planting, they sort of, well, plowed up as they dig through it, you know.
Really?
Yeah, you get a whole bucket full of them from Al for a quarter.
But I have an entire state to take care of.
Well, you'll need more than one bucket then.
And that, I'm afraid, would run into money.
No, see, they breed pretty fast.
Yeah, you just get yourself a mama and a papa worm, and before you can say Jack Robinson.
Well, no need to go into detail about that, Abner.
Well, this is splendid, gentlemen. I owe you a great debt of gratitude. Goodbye, Congressman. See you later.
Goodbye, Senator.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you.
Not at all, Senator, not at all.
You say you're from a place called Pine Ridge?
Yes, sir.
I gather that's a small town.
Well, yeah, but the biggest small town in the world, though, I'll say that for it.
Might nigh as big as Cherry Hill right now.
Huh?
Don't pay no attention to him, Congressman.
Well, if you're from a small town, perhaps you can help me, too.
Well, we'll be proud to try. What's your trouble?
I have rather a grave problem. The draft has taken many young men from our rural communities, and the men and women left behind are migrating to the large production centers because of wartime wages.
Natural, natural.
The result is a great many of our small cities are becoming ghost towns.
Well, sir, now, we was faced with that same problem down there at home, wasn't we, Abner?
Why, sure.
You were? Well, tell me, what did you do?
Well, the first thing we done, we appointed a committee to sort of look into the matter. And we found, whilst they could make more money working in the city,
They could live a heap cheaper in Pine Ridge.
So we called a meeting of all the townsfolk, and we gathered down there at the schoolhouse. And I got up and I told them, I says, now, whilst I admire you for wanting to get out and work in the defense plants, you can do more real good towards winning the war by staying right here at home and raising farm products to help feed them folks that does have to do that kind of work.
Yes, sir, he told him that. He sure did. I heard him. I wasn't sitting no further than here that tree there from him when he said it right on one of the desks there in the front row of the schoolhouse. But he told him. He said, if you want my honest opinion...
That question has been worrying me for weeks, but they had an immediate solution. They'll probably be on that same bench this afternoon, if they don't have to keep a certain appointment.
Earthworms, they told me. And I've had some research done, and they were dead right. Solved my problem for me quickly and inexpensively. Oh, they were on a park bench just off the tidal basin.
That's right. Yes, that's right. Senator Vickers said there's the smartest man in Washington. Okay, meet me there at once.
I reckon that about takes care of your case all right.
I should say it does. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Not at all, not at all.
Did he forget to thank us?
No, he done it.
Oh.
Next.
Sorry, Judge, you stepped out of line.
And lost your place.
I just stepped over to the courthouse for a moment.
Well, that ain't no excuse. You'll have to get at the end of the line. We can't show no favorites. Next.
This is a pleasure, sir, I assure you. Yes, sir. Now, I beg your pardon, sir. This is a pleasure, I assure you.
What's your trouble?
Well, my problem, sir, they're discussing it all over Washington. As a matter of fact,
I'm glad I ran into you, Janie. We got something here for your boss. Now, to the untrained eye, this looks like an ordinary trade. But actually, it's what the country needs. A dehydrated jukebox. All you do is add water, you get K. Kaiser.
Oh, be quiet, Bob.
That sounds more like the old Janie.
Old Janie is right.
You know, you ought to go away for a while. Like, say, on a nice honeymoon with a pleasant young newspaper man.
That would be fine. But I don't know any pleasant young newspaper man. I used to, but he's gone into the poison pen business. No, seriously, Bob, just what do you have against Mr. Marshall?
I haven't got anything against him. I love him. He's wonderful copy. I just don't get what he's doing, that's all.
He's doing his job, aiding the war effort.
Oh, Priddle Pratt.
What?
Priddle Pratt. That's the Pine Ridge version of hooey.
Well, you think Mr. Marshall's work is so priddle-prattish. Why are you so interested in getting your Pine Ridge friends in to see him?
I want them to find out they haven't got anything and go home.
But they might have something. That's the whole point.
Listen, Janie. Marshall's office was created as a clearinghouse for good, sound scientific discoveries. But he's made a campaign out of it. He wants to win the war with Mrs. O'Reilly's machine gun made out of an egg beater and a couple of corset staves.
Well, then just how do you propose that he do this job?
First thing he ought to do is get some advice from those two fellows on the park bench.
What are you talking about?
Lum Edwards and Abner Peabody. Haven't you heard? All of Washington is sitting at their feet, begging for wisdom, and getting it, too.
You mean those two are giving out advice?
Yes, and it's not bad, either. Some good, earthy, forthright stuff. So when Mr. Marshall wants to know
I
how...
can just see Mr. Marshall going to your friends for advice.
All right. Don't crowd. Don't get out of line. And when you get your chance on the bench, state your case brief and then leave. Understand?
Leastways, that's the way me and Abner handled the same situation down Pine Ridge, and it kept prices down, too.
Now, why couldn't we have thought of that? I'm grateful.
Not at all, not at all.
Mom, we've been trying to get in to see that feller for 2 or 3 days about that rubber. If we don't get in that office today, I'm going to break in.
All right, Abner, all right.
Now, gentlemen, my case is not an agrarian one, but I think you may be able to help.
1 o'clock.
Eh?
It's 1 o'clock, past closing time.
Yeah, but I'll only be a moment.
Now, we got to go over this new big building and see a big man.
But the Octagon, I'm going over there. We can talk as we walk.
Hey, we ain't got time to talk now. We got to see an important feller.
Yeah, but this is
We'll
roughly
see
what
you
I'm up
at 8
against.
o'clock in the morning.
But surely if we're going in the same direction...
We are thinking about something else now. We got to concentrate on rubber. Come
Yeah,
on,
but
Mom.
gentlemen, this is my case in a nutshell.